What's up, everybody? I'm on 285 in Atlanta, which I think they did a study on a few years ago. One of the, if not the most dangerous highways in the country. I don't think it's number one right now, but I think a few years ago it was. But headed to the DeKalb, or your DeKalb farmers market. Pick up some fruits and vegetables. Try to stay on the health grind. But this story is my Diddy story. Y'all love talking about Diddy. Diddy this, Diddy that. So I went to Howard University back in the day, and Puff was there during that year. He was there, and then of course came back the year after, several years after, and was throwing parties and stuff. But of course there was multiple interactions with him. But I think I'll really only have kind of one story that a lot of friends, close friends of mine, don't even know. So not that it's super hot or exclusive or anything like that, but back to that word esoteric. Y'all will be the only 100 people that watch this that'll know this story. So if we ever meet out and about, you know, maybe they'll chop it up about it or something like that. But anyway, I think this was 91 or 92. I think he was still working at Uptown with Andre Harrell and all of them. And he was coming back and forth again, like I said, throwing parties. And I bumped into him somewhere. I don't know where we were at on campus. And everybody knew he was doing his thing. You know, he still had the black Golf Rabbit that was falling apart, but you know, that was getting him back and forth to New York. And but he was, you know, rising up the ranks there. So I bumped into him. He was like, yo, okay, let's what you doing, you know, today, next couple of days, whatever, let's catch a lunch, man. And you know, at any HBCU, you know a bunch of people, your friends, you know hundreds of people, you know, especially during that time, everybody's 18 to 22 years old, 17 to 22. So I had hung out with him and a bunch of the fellas before, but we had never really sat down one-on-one and just chopped it up. So I was kind of surprised. I'm like, okay, no. So I said, yeah, let's do that. And so we linked up shortly after that conversation. We met at this Jamaican spot across the McDonald's on Georgia Avenue. I think they recently closed within the last year or two, if I'm correct. Y'all correct me if I'm wrong, all the DC Howard University heads. But I forgot the name of the spot. But it had these fish puffs, which I had never heard about. It had some type of fish in it, some cheese, and it was wrapped in dough. And it was super soft, man. Those fish puffs were like crack. I mean, so delicious. I don't eat fish anymore. I don't eat cheese anymore. And I stay away from white bread and dough. But back in the day in college, yes. So we sat down. I don't even know if we ate, or I ate, or he ate. We immediately just started talking. And I could see why he was always a good businessman. He got straight to the point. Like, so he asked me, like, so what do you want to do when you leave Howard, or like, what's your plan? What's your plan when you graduate? And man, I didn't have no plan. At that time, I'm just thinking about grades and my next presentation and architecture school, thesis, girls, or my girl, the next party, of course. Of course, learning knowledge of self as well. You know, me and my people are always into reading and learning about knowledge of self. But I wasn't thinking about business, or I didn't have a vision at that time, which I think, don't make that mistake if you're 20 or 18 or 15 watching this. Man, start having that vision, that imagining now. You know, and that's what Puff, that's what made him successful. I think he had a vision. He saw Andre Harrell, or he saw certain people that were already in the workforce or already in the music industry that were successful. He said, oh, I can do that. This person isn't much smarter than me, better than me, or can't out hustle me. So once it clicks and you see that you can do it too, and you imagine being greater, you can make things happen. After you see you can do it, then you decide that you can do it. After you make the decision to do it, then you take action to do it. That's a gem right there. That might have to get cut right there. So he was already asking questions like that, and I was like, oh, I don't know. But I think the answer, what I finally did say was, well, you know, what my parents taught me. Because Gen X, we were taught by the boomers. Go to school, get good grades, get a job. That's what we were taught. And I think that was good advice at that time, but looking back at it, man, that's not it. Woo, that's not it. If I would have known now what I knew, what I should have known back at that age, oh man, I would have had a different life. I have no regrets. I've had a beautiful life, and hope to have another 55 years of life. But you know, we were so kind of boxed into what our parents said. Some of us, most of us. But my answer to him was graduate. Well, you know, I'm just gonna graduate and get my degree, and then, you know, get a job in architecture. Man, needless to say, that lunch ended quickly after I said that. I looked at Puff's face. He was like, oh, okay, all right. But I could tell he wasn't feeling that answer. So I don't know if he wanted, I kind of felt he wanted me to work for the company, Bad Boy, that he eventually started, I don't know, months later or a year or two later. But after he heard that, I think he saw that I didn't have any visions of being in the music industry, or no visions of hustling. And he was, you know, I think he checked that box off. I think he probably was coming back to DC often from New York. And I'm sure I'm not the only, you know, guy out of the fellas that he met with or talked to about it or had a conversation about joining the company. Because, you know, he hired several Howardites to work at Bad Boy in the early years. You know, a good friend of mine, I'm not even gonna mention his name, because that's gonna be like, yo, why you mention my name on that podcast or on that YouTube? But yeah, he hired a lot of Howardites, and man, he created a lot of millionaires. So it's upsetting to see, you know, what's been going on in the case, and him being locked up in MDC. But everything comes to light. You know, I think he got like 80 cases now, maybe civil. I've heard recently that people are suing. You know, once people see blood in the water, they're gonna come for you. But he created a lot of millionaires. But going back to that lunch, not only did I feel like I didn't give him the right answer to what he was trying to hear at that time, and I think he got that right answer from others, because eventually he hired them and they went on to be successful. But like myself, I think Puff can read people well. And I think he just saw that I wasn't really kind of amped or hyped off being in that business. I love music. I've written a couple of songs, but I had a child early on, my junior year of Howard, I believe. 91. So I just didn't see it as a consistent way to make money. Maybe because I just wasn't confident enough in myself, though. I think anything can become consistent if you work at it on a daily basis. You put the hours in. I think Alex Hormozy and a couple of the other big entrepreneurs out always talk about having 10,000 hours, spending 10,000 hours in a certain trade or a skill or a space to get your skills up. So I think if you put up enough time in, you could be successful with anything. But that was my little Diddy story, not too long. Later, I went and got my master's degree at Georgia Tech, and then got a job offer in the oil and gas industry in Houston, Texas. So I moved to Houston, Texas for a couple of years. Shout out to Houston. Shout out to Yaya. Shout out to Suela. That's where we met Suela. Shout out to Cassandra. Shout out to Kim. Shout out to all the Houston heads. Love the people out in Houston. But I didn't really enjoy Houston when I lived there a couple of years. It was just, and I love the heat. I was raised in Miami. I love the heat and humidity, but Houston had a different kind of heat. And I don't know, I like the East Coast. Just always loved the East Coast. Lived in Diamond Bar, California for a couple of years in middle school. Enjoyed it out there. But the only reason I brought up Texas, though, after I got my master's degree, we moved out there a couple of years. And this was like right before, this is like what, 98, 99? Right before the tech industry was booming with the .com, and also the music industry was still booming. So, like I said, going back to earlier in this video, a lot of my friends were working for Bad Boy. Several of my friends, I ain't gonna say a lot of them, but were like, "Kay, what are you doing in Houston? Like, you can make money in this, in the music business. You need to come back home. You need to come back to Jersey." And I thought about it. I was married and had a couple kids. And after several discussions, just pulled up to the DeKalb Farmers Market, your DeKalb Farmers Market. And they were like, "Yo, come on, man. I think you could, let's do this, do that." There's many different avenues where you can make money. So after like 3 or 4 months of discussions with my wife, she was like, "Go ahead." So I moved back to New Jersey and was working with a couple of guys, producers that you guys know of. My friend who was working at Bad Boy at the time didn't make any promises, and I appreciated him for that. Like, look, you don't have a track record, so the only way you could, if you want to work at the company, which I don't even think I wanted to work at Bad Boy. I just wanted to work, I think, in the music business at that time, because I saw a lot of my friends being successful as well. And I figured, if you're intelligent, smart, and worked hard, you had that savage in you, as Diddy would like to say back in the day, you can make things happen. But when I got there, I eventually moved out there, and my best friend let me stay with him at his house for like 6 months. So I always appreciate that as well. But I was going to meetings, I was doing this, doing that, and 6 months, no income. Mind you, I still have my family back in Houston, little kids, and my goal, my thinking may be naive, go come out here and make it happen. Lock something down, start making steady income, move the family to back to New Jersey. But nah, that didn't happen. Woo! There was some long nights, lots of stories intertwined with there, but just really didn't get any love when I got back. All the people that was suggesting that I move back and do this and that, a couple of them tried to help here and there and provide opportunities, but I felt like it was kind of like I got the cold shoulder from many people that I thought that would be more involved. But you grow up, you early 20s, you realize like, oh, okay. Yeah, you realize really in your early 20s, nobody's on your side. Nobody, as they say, nobody's gonna save you. So I'm like, oh, I had to make a decision. Am I gonna put another 6 months in this? Or do something else? Excuse me. So I think I basically and I don't like giving up, but I saw that I was up against more than what I bargained for in that. Maybe I'm not cutthroat enough as I need to be. Maybe I didn't want it as much as you need to be to be successful in certain industries. So I think I went back to Houston, but at that point, decided to rent out the house in Houston, keep it as an investment property, and eventually I think decided to move us back to Jersey anyway. I think at some point I started to, I didn't go back to Houston. I started looking for a job, a 9-to-5 in New York, in New Jersey, and picked up a job and eventually moved the family back, and I'm glad I did. We had great times for those 9-10 years back in New Jersey. And looking back, I would do it all over again. You had to take a chance, you had to take a shot, got to take risks. Still taking risks today. Took risks after that. But a lot of life lessons. Nobody's gonna hand you money. Nobody's gonna hand you opportunities. Nobody's gonna hand you a job. You gotta go get it. You have to go take it. And if they do hand it to you, be careful. There's gonna be consequences. Especially if you're a woman. Be careful with nothing is free. Nothing is free out here. So that's my Diddy story for today. Hopefully it didn't take too long of your time. You ain't doing nothing anyway. Cooking some eggs, cleaning the house. That's what's great about YouTube or social media in general. Nobody's watching TV anymore. Netflix stock is going crazy. I'm gonna have to do a video. But there was a popular post going on right now with Netflix as far as how they're pushing trans and LGBT and all that stuff. And I'm not going to get into that right now, but the stock seems to be still doing well. I got in maybe in the hundreds and got out maybe in the 400s. I think I had went up to 6 and then went back down to 4. I was like, oh, I think subscriptions are slowing down globally and in the US. And as soon as I got out, shot up to 1,000, 1,100. I'm like, oh, I should have held on. But so I think Netflix is gonna keep doing well. But back to my point, I enjoy watching normal people or business people or health, people in the health space, or people talking about investing, or people just going through everyday life struggles. I enjoy watching those types of videos on my phone or on TV, more so than I enjoy movies now. And I'm an old movie head. I still watch old movies. I'm into film noir right now. I watch the old, like these black and white movies, gangster movies in the 50s. I'm into watching a lot of those right now with the old Hollywood stars, just to see what they were trying to promote and push out there. Because to me, all Hollywood is propaganda. But I like learning to see what kind of images and things they were trying to push at that time. But I think you learn more about just watching people themselves, and or especially being around people, as I talked about in my other videos. So this is a good platform. This is the new real estate to me, digital real estate. But that's it. Let me go in here and get some veggies, some fruits. Apple a day keeps the doctor away. Sounds corny, but the older I get, man, those apples are powerful. So you guys have a wonderful Sunday, and catch you on the next one.